Here from slyflourish.com and twitter.com/slyflourish. Like I've done in the past, today I'm going to be preparing for my Tomb of Annihilation game, which I'm running in a couple of hours, and going through the process of the Lazy Dungeon Master and talking with you fine folks about the wide world of Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes Dungeons and Dragons, it all becomes one word. Pardon me for a moment while I get my I want to make sure I get my chat window and everything up. This is not useful. Dashboard, that's what I want. I like to get my chat window open so I can chat with you fine folks while I'm doing this. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope everybody had fun at International Tabletop Day. If you played at tabletop, let me know what you played. Pop out my little chat window there. There we go. We've got that, and we've got that, and we've got some pretty skeletons. I put some skeletons up. Skeleton keys, it says in the lower right. So in my last session, a lot of stuff happened. They were at the tomb, or at the chambers of vampire pirate captains, in Jahaka Bay. And the characters were pretty like, yeah, we're going to take it. And I did the backtrack, if you recall. I guess it'll be 2 shows back, but last week I had planned on kind of pulling back so that they could see that there was a storm orb inside of a ship and that the vampires were using these storm orbs to create giant storms over their ships so that they could sail in daylight and not worry about getting turned into ash or whatever. Coffee's a little cold. So they were fighting vampires. They were at the vaults. They saw the storm orbs. They also saw that there was a chamber that they knew they were going to go to. They opened up the chamber, and inside they found a vast treasure hoard that the vampires had been hoarding. And among them was a kobold named Rattail. And Rattail had little spectacles on, and he had a giant ledger where he was keeping track of all of the in and out. You know, he was like a smart kobold who was keeping track of all the accounting for the vampires. And they said, they were kind of questioning him. And at one point they said, are there any surprises in here that we should know about? And the kobold smiled and looked at him over his spectacles and said, yes, so many surprises. And they said, like what? And then a vampire assassin behind one of the characters said, like this, and stabbed him for like 90 points of damage. And he's like, no! And he almost died. And they fought the vampire assassin known as the Devil that they had fought before. She was a lot harder this time than the last time they faced her because they couldn't gang up on her. And she's zipping around. I gave her a couple of extra moves. I gave her an ability to essentially move without provoking opportunity attacks, like vampiric speed. That was something I've given vampires in. I wrote a little supplement called Sly Flourish's Vampires. If you Google Sly Flourish's Vampires, you'll find it. It's a free book that Chris Sims and I worked on to come up with better vampires for 5e. It's available for free. And one of the things that you can give a vampire is vampiric speed, so they can zip around without provoking opportunity attacks. And so she's zipping around and stabbing people, and she's got the wyvern poison blade, so she's doing shit tons of damage. I think I can swear on this. I think we're okay. And then halfway through, the vampire pirate captain shows up, and they look at him, and I told them, like, you've been having trouble with her, with the Devil. She's zipping around stabbing you. And then you look at him, and you're like, oh my God, that's what a real vampire looks like. So now they're fighting a real vampire. And he's charming people, and he's hitting people with an axe and a sword. He has this, like, weird shadow-bladed sword that he's stabbing people with that's doing these extra wounding damage that's stacking up. And there's only 2 of them. There's the vampire and there's the assassin. And using my own little head math for how encounter balance works, or how, what constitutes a deadly encounter. This was way deadly because the vampire's like CR 13. The assassin's like CR, I think 8 or 9. And the characters are level 5 or 6. I think they're level 6, so it's really hard, and I knew it's really hard. Like, this is above and beyond. And it was. They dropped a lot, and the vampire's picking corpses, guys that have dropped, he's picking them up and draining their life with his bite attack, doing a critical hit and getting back critical damage from it. in hit points and inflicting 2 death saves at a time. So we had one guy, and this isn't Chult, so this is Tomb of Annihilation style. So if they make a death save and fail and they die, they're dead. Now, we weren't playing with the hardcore rules, so they can make death saves on 11 plus instead of 15 plus, 16 plus. But it's still, they're really worried. And then one guy rolled 3 final death saves and made each one in a row. And he thought he was dead. We all thought there's no way he's going to make 3 saves in a row, and he did. And that was just luck. And then they finally defeated the vampire and defeated her. And they had already desecrated her coffin. So when she tried to reform in her coffin, she couldn't, and she basically dissipated and was gone. Maybe her soul got sucked into the soul engine, the soulmonger. By the way, this is full of Tomb of Annihilation spoilers. So if you're playing Tomb of Annihilation, you should probably not listen to this. Sorry. So they killed the vampires, they found the vampire coffins, they destroyed the coffins, and then they found the room that had 3 mirrors, each mirror in one of the ships. They had already destroyed one of the mirrors in one of the ships, but they saw the other 2, and they saw 2 other vampires. And the one's this female Thayan vampire, and the other one is this male elven vampire. And those vampires are trying to plead with them, like, don't destroy the orb, we have information we can give you. And the character's like, no, we don't like you. And they're trying to smash the orb, and the vampires are trying to charm them, and they're getting some charms in. And then people were like running away and slapping their friends and stuff. And finally, the characters destroy the mirrors, destroy the orbs, and they said, okay, we're done with vampires. And then they looked outside because they saw 2 vampire ships coming their way while this is all going on. As soon as they had killed the other vampire and destroyed the mirror, the other ships turned around and were heading back to port to come in. And they're like, we just fought a vampire captain, and he nearly killed us. And there's 2 more captains, along with 60-ish crew that are coming along with them. We got to, whatever we're doing, we got to get the hell out of here. But when the orbs were destroyed, the vampires have no way to command during the day, and they said, we're out of here, and they turned their ships around and left. So that was how our party defeated the vampire pirates of Jahaka Bay, which is pretty cool. They then started counting up all their money, and boy, did they have a lot of money. And then they figured out that they can hire the prisoners that were there. So then I had to pull out the Dungeon Master's Guide and look at rules for hirelings. And there are, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, rules for hirelings that I had never really looked at. And luckily, they were easy to find. I'm looking at it right here, running the game. I don't know if it's in the Dungeon Master Workshop. Hirelings. Somewhere in here was like, how many people, look at that guy, how many people, how much does it cost for a ship? And how much does it cost for people to travel on that ship? And, they figured it out, and they started doing the math, and they figured out that about 2 gold a day is what you're supposed to pay sailors. And they're like, well, let's pay them 3, and then their loyalty will go up. I actually started using the loyalty. I'm trying to find it in here. Let me just search for loyalty. Loyalty. Dungeon Master's Guide. Optional rule. So there's a loyalty score. And I started keeping track of the loyalty of the characters. I kept a little marker, and the players knew I was doing this. They're like, so we really need to take care of these guys, or they're going to try to steal our gold and sell us out to villains or whatever. So they started doing that, and then they basically split their group into 2. They have about 50-ish people, and they put 26 on their ship and kept 24 in Jahaka Bay. They're going to rename Jahaka Bay to something that's theirs, and they're going to they might rename the ship, although somebody mentioned that's bad luck, so that's interesting. It's right now it's the Emerald Eye, and but almost all the prisoners were captured on the sea, so they're all sailors. And they're going to build up the bay, and they're going to use this money. They have about 10,000 gold that they got from the vampires, a lot of gold. And they use the gold to pay, they left some of it there to pay for essentially a month's worth of payment to the people in Jahaka Bay. Then took money with them to pay their crew, about 26 people on their new ship. And now they are on the ship, and they are headed back to Port Nyanzaru, victorious against the pirate captains. And that's really cool. So now they have gone from, we are just 5 or 6 adventurers traveling through this asshole jungle, to now we actually own part of Chult, right? We have our own bay. They can build it into a small town and shipping area. They've taken care of the pirates. They have their own ship. Now they're hitting that sort of cool stride of, building something for themselves. And it's a good way for them to use up money. It's really, this is a common 5th edition complaint, is that there's really not a lot to do with money. I can't remember what I was trying to find, like, where you can, in the Dungeon Master's Guide, where you can recurring expenses. Let's see if there's anything in here. The chapter headings are not particularly good, and I don't remember exactly where it was. It's funny, it was really easy for me to find in here's maintenance. Yeah, here we go. So this is the maintenance costs, right? And if they say, like, well, we're building an abbey or any of these sort of probably outpost and port, is skilled and untrained. It costs 50 gold pieces a day. So it's actually way cheaper than they need to. They left 5,000 gold there. Oh, and they promoted Rat Tail. So Rat Tail is now like the senior accountant or something, and he's actually going to have people working for him. So he's going to go find people who are good at math, and they're going to help figure it out. And I think it'd be fun. And it's as a DM, I could screw with this, or I could just say, no, it's cool and it'll work, and there'll be interesting encounters that they'll have to deal with. But why take something that's from them? Why hurt them for this? This is something that's really, really neat. I thought that some here was a ship. Oh, here's how much it cost to build it cost 5,000 gold pieces in 60 days to rebuild. See, this is kind of cool. There was a whole thing in here about ships, though, and pirates. That's cool art. So what the hell's going on today? I should have my characters. I have my little campaign cheat sheet that I keep. I like these cheat sheets. They get really grisly, like, over time. No one's gonna be able to see that, but names of everybody. Oh, and I wrote the loyalty on the back. They were gonna call it the palms. Players. We have Warren. He is our gnome druid who wants to be the biggest beast he can. We have Punchy, a Kenku fighter, and it wasn't Punchy who's been having the weird visions. Smoke. Smoke is the one who almost died. Who is a Tabaxi ranger / rogue. We have Gabriel, who is a Asimar. What do they call it? Celestial Warlock. He's a good one to tug on for weird things happening in the tomb. Ogechi, who is a shadow magic human. I think he's a warlock too now. And his patron is, what is the name? There's another god in Schult beyond Night Serpent and Ubtao. That's like this walking giant neutral sort of god, and he worships that guy. I should figure out. And Huitzelin, who is a paladin of Ubtao. Those are the characters. One of the goals for today, I want them to have some fun. I want them to kind of go back to Port Nyanzaru and enjoy that time. I don't want to immediately like throw them back into the grinding pit. I want them to enjoy some downtime activities, and they can sell stuff and they can buy stuff, and maybe spend a 10-day there if they want to. But I also want to tug on them and get them back towards Omu and the Tomb of the Nine Gods and the stuff that's going on there. I think we are, it's time to start hitting those last 3 chapters of the book. Although I wouldn't mind if they did another side trek or two. So I actually gave them some hints about one of the, I suppose it's better I look up here. One of the locations in Chult that they heard about that was nearby, and it's an old mine that's been taken over by fire newts. And I don't know that. Let's see, Land of Chult, locations in Chult. I don't remember what that place is. Quick scroll down here. I should just look at the map and figure it out. My other group had fun with grungs for the first time. I used grungs, and I'm trying to get them to go to Dungrunglung, which is a great name. Dungrunglung. Hey, while I'm scrolling, if you guys who are watching this have any topics you want to talk about, yeah, Hackhammer was where it was. Yeah, if you guys have any topics you want to talk about, is there any interesting things going on in D&D? Bring them up. We don't have to just do game prep. We can talk about D&D. That's my hope. I like talking about D&D. Hackhammer. So Hackhammer is an old mine run by albino dwarves. And some albino dwarves were captured by the vampires and said, hey, we would love if you would come and help us reclaim our mine. And if you reclaim the mine, that can help you with, we will work through your settlement. Like, maybe we'll sign an exclusive contract with your settlement to do mining and stuff, and it'll be great. And the party's like, that sounds pretty good. I don't know what, how hard are these guys? They're pretty low, so I don't think it'll be hard for the characters to carve through this, because I don't think there's any real badass monsters in here. But that'd be fun too, you know. Again, Fire Newt Warlock of Imix. That's, you know, they're not nothing. And I can throw fire elementals in here if I want to freak people out. I don't know if there are any, but kind of a fun thing to explore. You know, not everything has to be this super. We always talk about, like, oh, it's got to be a challenge. You know, sometimes it doesn't. And they just fought vampires. It's okay for them to go through here and, you know, not have the hardest time in the world. It also means that it won't take too long, and then they won't get too run up. So Crackheimer is actually closer to Jahaka Bay than the other stuff. But I might put Crackheimer on the list of fantastic locations. So what is the strong start? The strong start. Well, they're on the coast, and they're on their ship, and they're traveling along, and the storms have gone away. What would be? You know, I always do like see guys jump up on your ship and attack, but that's kind of boring, and they don't need to necessarily. I wouldn't mind them starting with a fight, but it doesn't need to be like a crazy one. It'd be kind of fun if it was something else. I think we'll use the. Let's see what Xanathar's. Xanathar's guide has a really good set of random encounter tables. We can go with either coastal or underwater. See what those are like. So, oh, you know what? Oh, I do have dice. I thought I forgot my dice again, and I did. So let's roll and see what we get. This is coastal. I'm not sure coastal's going to work because I think it's expecting that you're on land. But we'll give it a shot. 93. Sahuagin. Yeah, I don't know. So who are going to be interesting? Let's see what underwater encounters. 3. Quippers. Boring. 14. Steam methods. I mean, you know, maybe they won't run into anything. They don't have to. Not every time they get onto a. Now, they killed Nanny Poo Poo. So a sea hag might be fun. What about Sahuagin? Driven by a sea hag. Might be a good time. One frightened creature. Ooh. So this might be a good one. And it could be a sister of, an ancient sister under the sea of, Nanny Poo Poo. And she could have a couple of sea hags with her. That might be a kind of a fun fight. I will consider that. I'll throw in the strong start. What's her name? She needs a name. Sister what? It's hard to beat Nanny Poo Poo. Man, they came out with a good name. Sister Blue. Maybe she's younger. Of the Blue Claws. No. What did I say they were? Sahuagin. What's the deal with Sahuagin again? Let's read about Sahuagin. Why does Priest come up? That's weird. Let's go with Sahuagin Baron. What underwater creatures hang out with hags? Yeah, these are shark worshippers. Sekola. Yeah, that's not bad. I read the whole thing about hags in Volo's Guide, which I highly recommend. No, not Sister PP. That would get giggles from my group. Yeah, but not Sister PP. I don't think so. Veto. I'll just get giggles out of my group for an hour. Sister Blue kind of works for me. It's kind of a fun name. Well, hags are their own creatures. They're not really. I mean, if you know, they are born of other hags, and they're not. They don't like another creature. I don't think becomes a hag. They're also really, really old. So the idea that she's as old as the sea, and you know, she knows things about what's going on in the sea, that could be kind of fun. They did giggle over Nanny Poo Poo, but that's canon. There's nothing I can do about that. That's out of my hands. I got to go with the Nanny Poo Poo. But there's lots of creatures that like work for hags, and I was wondering if there's any sea creatures. Let's look at sea hag. Let's read the text. Yeah, dismal and polluted waters. Surrounded by marrow and other aquatic monsters. It's not really much. There are a lot of creatures that work for hags. It'd be kind of fun. Like, somebody ought to put together like a map that shows what creatures are connected to other creatures. Like, what creatures work for hags, you know? Would be a good one. I kind of wish I could search the like just the monster manual for Hag. I guess you can. You can do monsters, Hags. Yeah, see, it just has the name. Let's go with compendium. Yeah, sometimes it's fun to see like what other stuff. Flotsam and Jetsam from Little Mermaid. It would be kind of fun. I have a feeling between sharks, so there'll be sharks circling the boats, there'll be Sahuagin riding the sharks, and then Sister Blue will crawl her way up the side of the ship. It'll be sort of a multi-part fight. I might try to run Theater of the Mind for fun. We'll see. It'll be a complicated fight to run Theater of the Mind, but I can do it. So that could be a start. And then arrival at Port Nyanzaru. I don't want to get too caught up in that stuff, though. I don't know. We'll see how I feel. So return to... So they're going to return to Port Nyanzaru, and they're going to be pretty victorious. There's going to be probably a trial. If they take time... if they spend some time there could actually be a trial for the woman that runs. These are all the NPCs I gotta remember. So we have who is the fella? So Syndra Sylvain is the, and I changed her. She is a commander, a Flaming Fist. Flaming Fist captain. There is her contact, which is the merchant prince, Wakanga Otamu. There is the Zindar. And he's the one that wanted the pirate captains, and he will probably be the one. This is cool that they have traits for these guys. He is so powerful. Look at him. Challenge 8. You know, hanging out at the docks. That guy needs a job. We have the Fort Belawarian. And Liara Porter. Who is currently in charge of the Flaming Fist? Yes, older Raven Guard. right? He is now the head of the Flaming Fist, at least in my world. Oh, that's not going to work. And I think he might show up for the trial because he needs to reestablish. So yeah, and Sildra Sylvain is a Flaming Fist Blaze. So there's gonna be some fun Flaming Fist drama. All right, so return to Port Nyanzaru. Trial of Liara Porter. Other downtime. I'll bring my Zolos, my Xanathar's guide, so that we have some Zolos guide. And I'm going to inflict a dream upon one of the characters, where they dream of the construction of the Tomb of the Nine Gods and the growth of something terrible in there. I'm not sure who it'll be. It'll probably either be Gabriel, maybe a mixture of Gabriel and Ogechi, who are the two that are connected most with like weird spiritual crap going on. So I think that's pretty good. Secrets and clues. This is the hard part. Secrets and clues are always the hard part. So, Sararak murdered. Sararak stuff. So I guess one question is, did older Ravengard know can add a little urgency in the Death Curse. So one of the tricks, a lot of people have talked about this for Tomb of Annihilation, that the Death Curse is too aggressive for the exploration that the adventure offers. So if you make it too strong early and you show that, oh my god, everyone's dying every day and you're going to fall apart, and you got like 12 days to get down there and solve this whole problem. If you push that too hard, the characters buy into it, they will ignore so many of the fun things that are occurring in this adventure. Where if you can pull it back and make it a little bit more subtle, and you're like not sure how much it's progressing, the DM can use, we don't have to make it a constant. We can vary the intensity of the Death Curse to let go of the urgency or add urgency. And that way, if we want them to get to Omu and deal with that, we can push that. And if we kind of want them to explore things, we can kind of pull it back and not mention it as much. So it's a nice, if you treat it that way, if you run it the way it's in the book, it's too aggressive, I think. And I think a lot of people have said that. If you run it yourself and tune how you put out the information about what the Death Curse is doing, that will give the players some freedom to do other things like chase pirates. You're like, why would you chase pirates if every soul of every dead person is going into some kind of horrible thing? So yeah, so I can use the Death Curse now if I want them to get to if I want them to get to Omu and really deal with that soon, I can use this to tug on it. And I am a little bit. I don't want them to forget about why they're here, and the players don't want to forget about why they're there. They want to go to this place. What other? I want to put some Yuan-Ti assassins in Port Nyanzaru, causing troubles, and in particular, probably going against the characters. The characters have now gotten the attention of Rosnisi, and I think that assassins and spies are lurking in Port Nyanzaru. They've gotten the attention of the Yuan-Ti. What other interesting? The tomb is shockingly young, I think. If I recall, it's you'd figure these tombs are like 5,000 years old, and I always like things that are older. The fact that it's only 100 years old, hell, we've got buildings we're living in now that are 100 years old. That's not that old, and it wouldn't be in very bad shape. History of the tomb. All this stuff happened relatively recently. Yeah, so here's the whole thing about being a time bomb. And I like this. So their way of dealing within the adventure is time pressure aside, there's lots of possibilities. Except not. I think it's this whole section. History of Omu. Yeah, here we go. A little over a century ago. So yeah. That means that the tomb is in pretty good shape. I don't know, maybe it has aged considerably since. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need 2 more secrets and clues. Trickster gods are not really gods. They're primal spirits. What else? Something that's going to draw them there. Maybe one will come up. Fantastic locations. So we have Hackhammer, and of course there's Port Nyanzaru and stuff like that. Just for funsies. What am I doing? We will go to Lost Monuments of Chult. And we will grab, these are randomly generated, here I'll throw that in the chat, you guys can enjoy that. The randomly generated monuments. Excavated fearful carving, that looks cool. Desecrated anti-magical statue of Dendar, that looks pretty cool. Just grabbing a few of these. Ruined thunderous effigy of Shagambi the Kamaden. They've run into some of these before. Floating fiery ship of Unk the flail snail. That's funny. Bloody sleep-inducing stone circle of the Arakokra. Obsidian poisonous tower of the Texabi. Decorated trap shrine of Ubtao. I really want to find out that other god. Anybody in chat? Who dies today? Oh my god, James Intercasso is here. Who dies today? I don't know. Probably Sahuagin are gonna die. I'm such a softie. So a serious concern I have about the tomb is, like, I started reading the chapter on the tomb in my copy of the book, and it's like I would really love to run that as a real death trap dungeon, but the characters have been around for 6 months now, and it's like to have like your 6-month-old character, 7-month-old, and they've got a ship and they have their own port now, and they're sort of building up their own cool empire, and you could clearly see like they're going to retire, and then they're going to go in a death trap dungeon, and they're going to go to like the first door, and they're going to get crushed by horrible pillars, and just their innards are going to spray out, and that's the end of them. It's like, wow, is that really how this is going to go? And how will the players feel about that? I think some of them will be like, man, that is pretty awesome. But it's almost like I guess they did it in Psycho. I was thinking about the movie Psycho, right? And half the movie follows the woman who goes there and then gets murdered, which is so great. And then I think there's even like the guy who investigates her, right? And he goes to the place and he's figuring things out. And next thing he gets stabbed in the chest and killed. Or The Shining, right? Where the guy makes this whole long journey all the way to the place to save the kid, walks in the front door and gets axed in the chest. That's kind of how this adventure might go. I'm not sure people are going to be crazy about that. Damn, I wish I could remember the name of that deity. Did I write it down? I really should have. Halista the Devil. I wrote a whole bunch of crap down. We are not playing on meat. So after the guy started making death saves, we all decided we're not playing on meat grinder mode because and really it's like when I'm being such a schmuck as to throw CR13 vampires against level 6 characters, it's really hard for me to then be a hard case about death saves because it's like, well, you're getting your ass kicked anyway, and it's not fair to begin with. But I did. I don't feel bad about the vampires because like they knew there were vampires. They learned that weeks ago, and instead of saying like we cannot face a vampire, they're like, sure, we'll take it on, and it's like, all right, he's gonna grab you and sweep the floor with you, and he almost did. Oh man. Yeah, I can't find it. So I need more Chult gods, man. How come I can't find any more Chult gods? Beyond. Yeah, Eshodo. Here we go. They did know, and I could have been a dick about it. And I could have told them, like, as soon as you face this thing. But they, I don't know. Again, I'm a softie, and I want them to have a good time. Oh, look at this. Here's a secret and clue. Whoops. Secret and clue. There was a group known as the Show. Chultan tribe nearly extinct. The shadow of a show. And attacked the city of Mesro. Man, this is good. There's good stuff here. I'm sticking this whole URL in here. This whole chapter is good. So Ras Nisi is an enemy of the Esho. There's some good stuff. So I got my secrets, and I've got 3 minutes remaining for our little hour chat. I don't think, yeah. So I got some fantastic locations. I got NPCs, monsters. We have. So who again? We have sharks. We have a sea hag. We have Yuanti. Spies and Yuanti. Assassins. I think that's pretty much it for today. Magic items. They just got a pile of them, so I think I'm gonna go light on magic items right now. It wouldn't hurt for me to say like, hey, what kind of magic items would they get excited about? What are the sorts of things? What sorts of things would they like? But I think that is good. So, does anybody have any other thoughts, questions, interesting D&D things going on they want to talk about? Now's a good time. A couple minutes remaining. Once again, I kind of look over the stuff that I've got for today's game. This was a lazy session, which is why it took as long as it did. It normally doesn't take an hour to go through all this stuff, but I like talking. I like talking on the chat. Normally it's about a half hour for me. But I feel pretty good about what I got here, and I feel, ready to kind of run. I'm not crazy about that start with the hags, but I don't know. Like, what's an interesting way for a Sahuagin to attack a ship? Like, what would they, I don't know, hammerhead shark kind of bashes through the hull, and Sahuagins swim up through it. That might be fun. That'd be exciting. They have to deal with a sinking ship. Their brand new ship. Warwick, good question. Gonna jump into a Tomb of Annihilation game as a player. First time as a player, not a DM in years. What can I do to help the DM? Any specific plot threads I should chase harder? To me, the big question, and I asked all the players that have joined in my 2 Tomb of Annihilation games. The question that I ask them is, what makes your character want to adventure with others into the jungle of Chult to stop the death curse? It's a pretty leading question, but what makes them want to adventure with other characters going into the jungle of Chult to stop the death curse? Like, why do they not? And there's really 3 questions, right? Why do they want to adventure with other people? What makes them, a lot of times, like, and I even did it, like, I made a character and I'm like, why does this character go with anybody else? Like, what makes the character want to join a group of adventurers is an important one. If you build, I built like an investigator rogue who uses magic and stuff. He's elven, and it's like, well, why did this elven investigator rogue? If he's like Sherlock Holmes doesn't, he has Watson and that's it. But what would make Sherlock want to go with like 5 other people? So, I think that is a good question. What makes them want to group with other people? 2, are they prepared to go into the jungle, right? Like, don't make them fancy city folk. Or if you do make them fancy city folk, make a good reason why they still are motivated to go into the jungle. And then 3, what about the death curse tugs on them? Did they have somebody who died because of it? Did they have somebody who recently died and their soul is lost and they want to recover it? In my other game, it's like, well, there's a death priest, death domain priest, and the death domain priest, wants to restore the natural order of death, which is cool, right? And other people, like my wife's character lost a pet, and she doesn't want the soul of her pet, fueling this engine, so she wants to try to go rescue it. So, I think that is the big one. Answering those 3 questions. Why do you want to adventure with other people? And maybe what other connections do you have to other characters? That's always, anytime players generate their own connections to other characters, it makes me so much happier because it's something I don't have to do. Why do they want to, are they prepared to travel into the jungles of Chult, and why do they want to do so? And why do they want to stop the death curse? Those to me are the three big ones. So with that, I am going to get ready to go. Thank you all for another good time. I hope you enjoy this. If you have any suggestions about things you would like to see done in these little shows, please let me know. I want to make them entertaining. And I will see you again in a week. Have a great day.